Happiness is nearly impossible to measure, but one US-based initiative has been trying to figure it out. Every year since 2012, the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network has published a report on world happiness, a study that takes a close look between development and happiness. In today's video, we're taking a look at 10 of the happiest countries in the world, as designated by the United Nations themselves. Without further ado, let's get into the rankings. Number 10. New Zealand. It might come as a surprise, but the relatively small country of New Zealand happens to be one of the world's happiest countries. Since the pandemic, New Zealand has had one of the lowest rates of COVID-related casualties, which already cements the country's spot in the top 10. Kiwis are a famously friendly, happy people, which likely has a lot to do with the satisfaction in both the social and work spheres of their country. What's more, having a Prime Minister that makes mental and emotional growth a priority certainly helps. In 2019, Jacinda Ardern introduced a well-being budget, allocating billions of dollars towards initiatives designed to reduce child poverty, bolster mental health, and support the native Pasifika and Maori populations of New Zealand. For travellers to New Zealand looking to boost their endorphins, the solution is simple: play outside. The country is one of the most naturally beautiful in the world, featuring just as many outdoor activities as there are stunning landscapes. Whether you decide to spend your vacation hiking through Tongariro National Park, kayaking in Milford Sound, or heading to Queenstown for bungee jumping, you're bound to leave New Zealand feeling better than when you arrived. New Zealand has also been praised for its relatively laid-back lifestyle. Many locals say that they have more free time after work to spend appreciating the natural environment, emphasizing the country's political stability, work-life balance, and high level of safety. Number 9. Norway. There's really not a lot to complain about in Norway. The country's mix of well-integrated government welfare systems and its thriving economy built on the responsible management of its natural resources means that not a single citizen is left behind. Perhaps the biggest step the country has taken toward improving its happiness has been the slow phasing out of fossil fuel-powered cars. Feelings of trust in the government, social support, and economic well-being permeate throughout the country, contributing to its population's overall happiness. Furthermore, it's been scientifically proven that being near water makes people happier. Why are we telling you this? Well, there's plenty of water in Norway, and the country offers many opportunities for locals and travellers alike to adopt an aquatic state of mind. Norway boasts some of the deepest, most beautiful lakes in all of Europe, including its famous Lake Mjøsa, which is found around 50 miles north of Oslo. There's a bike path encircling the entire lake, making it a great opportunity to get in a good ride before cooling off in the water. Another of the greatest factors contributing to Norway's general happiness is the fact that the country employs the Allemannsrett law. Essentially, this law is the freedom to roam wherever your heart desires within the country. So long as the land is far enough from a house and is not fenced, you can sleep outside, ski, have a picnic, camp, or do really anything else you want in the great outdoors. Number 8. Israel. After placing 12th on the United Nations list of happiest countries in 2021, Israel finally broke into the top 10 in 2022 and has maintained this position ever since. The country's rapid response to the pandemic instilled plenty of government trust among its citizens. It's likely helped that Israel was one of the first nations to vaccinate a large portion of its population successfully. Israel is also one of the world's healthiest countries, boasting the lowest number of diet-related casualties like type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol in the entire world. As a traveller, you'll be able to enjoy that life-lengthening Mediterranean diet at one of the thousands of restaurants in Tel Aviv, Israel's culinary capital. Probably one of the leading factors in Israel's continued happiness is the fact that the country is never short on purpose. Israel is only 67 years old, and the country is still undergoing constant development, transforming deserts into airports and greenhouses, constructing new cities, and solidifying their national identity as a population, even with the constant threat of war. Israel is often called the country of celebrations, with its population jumping at every opportunity to celebrate. In Israel, you'll be invited to the wedding of your next-door neighbor's second cousin, and chances are you'll go, because life is short and is best spent celebrating as a community, something that the population of Israel understands very well. Number 7. Luxembourg. With a population of less than 600,000 people, the humble country of Luxembourg offers a strong social security system and high salaries to help its citizens both before and after their retirement. But before you conclude that money is, in fact, buying happiness for the people of Luxembourg, let us remind you that the country offers plenty of other perks that have little to do with cash. For starters, they have one of the world's best healthcare systems, offering comprehensive medical treatment that is highly affordable, and the work-life balance in Luxembourg is just as good, probably due to the mandatory 5 weeks of vacation time that employees must take each year. Sounds like a dream, doesn't it? The country's beautiful historic scenery likely has something to do with it as well. Though the country only gained its full independence in 1839, Luxembourg City's roots go a long way back. In fact, the first mentions of the city date back to 963, and it's also around this time that construction of the city's fortifications began. Throughout the country, vestiges of its medieval history are displayed in museums and can be seen in the Casamates underground tunnels, which were built for the city's defense in the 1600s. You'll also find a number of castles dotting the landscape, most of which can be found located in the northernmost regions of the country. Number 6. Sweden. Sweden recently dropped a spot in the top 10 happiest countries in the world, likely thanks to the fact that the country experienced the highest number of COVID-related casualties amongst all the Nordic countries. Yet, despite this, the country is still one of the happiest in the world, largely due to its high GDP per capita. Some of the other factors contributing to the country's overall happiness is the 16 months of paid family leave that can be split between a couple after the birth of a new child, an emphasis on social equality built into the education system from kindergarten and beyond, and free daycare. In essence, Sweden's big focus on a good work-life balance make it a great place to live for locals and expats alike. In lieu of this work-life balance, Sweden promotes a shorter work week as well. It's likely no surprise that long work hours can increase stress, impair your health, and jeopardize your overall well-being. This is likely why the Swedes have a general better sense of well-being. They work fewer hours. The working class of Sweden receives a minimum of 5 weeks of paid vacation annually, not to mention the fact that they work more than 100 hours less per year than the global average. Number 5. Switzerland. Even though the country dropped one spot on the list, Switzerland is still one of the happiest places to be, likely because everything is voted on in this country. That includes everything from how many immigrants should be allowed into the country to how many vacation days workers should have. There are also referendums that happen down to the local level that take place several times a year. It is this system of direct democracy that allows Swiss citizens to feel an unparalleled sense of participation in the actual evolution of their country. The Swiss are famous, or infamous, for their insular nature, which can be off-putting to first-time visitors. However, there is a very strong social fabric that is held in place by a belief that every one of the country's voices matters. That goes a long way toward helping the population feel content. According to researchers, eating small amounts of dark chocolate can lead to a significant decrease in depressive symptoms. And where in the world are you going to find a better place to eat good chocolate than in Switzerland? If you're visiting the country and want a quick endorphin boost, take a train bound for Brock to visit the renowned Scheller Nestlé chocolate factory and shop, or try the 99% cocoa bar at the Teuscher HQ in Zurich. Number 4. The Netherlands. The biggest stat from the Netherlands this year, and every year for the last decade, has been that its levels of public happiness have changed less than 0.003% between 2005 and 2021. And by that, we mean that the country has been consistently very happy for almost 20 years. In the Netherlands, happiness starts young. A UNICEF report from 2013 rated Dutch children to be the happiest on the planet, based on a range of metrics relating to health, safety, and educational well-being. So if you're looking to raise an exceptionally happy little one, consider immigrating to the nether regions. The Netherlands. Speaking of generally happy children, another major difference between Dutch and American children is the approach to playtime. In the Netherlands, play amongst children is encouraged and is considered a vital part of development. And while mandatory schooling begins at 5 years old, nearly all of Dutch children attend some sort of playgroup. Number 3. Denmark. Denmark has been in the top 3 of the world's happiest countries for a number of years, and for good reason. The country rates near the top in all reported metrics: social support, life expectancy, and generosity amongst its citizens. But perhaps most importantly, Denmark is a country with a high commitment to the production of renewable energy. A recent study from the Happiness Research Institute, which is based in Copenhagen and whose existence is likely enough reason for a top spot, narrows down the happiness of this country to a number of categories. These categories include things like economic security, trust in the government, civil participation, freedom, and work-life balance, all of which Denmark excels in. Another big reason why the Danes are so happy is because most citizens pay more than half their annual earnings in taxes. Well, that's not the main reason they're so happy, but in return for half their salary being taxed, every single Danish citizen receives free healthcare, generous unemployment benefits, highly subsidized childcare, and free education from kindergarten to college. In fact, students are actually paid $900 every month. Number 2. Iceland. Iceland is a high-ranking country when it comes to the portion of respondents who said that they felt like they could count on their fellow citizens when things get tough. This perhaps became most obvious in the aftermath of Iceland's post-2007 financial collapse and the subsequent revitalization of the country's economy. One would think that the constant influx of American tourists into Reykjavik may have negatively influenced the locals' happiness. After all, it's now a bit harder to secure a dinner reservation than it used to be. But the Icelanders are pretty much unbothered when it comes to well-being. It probably has something to do with the fact that they're always on the back door of a countryside that looks like it's from a fairy tale world. What's more, in a country as small as Iceland, socialization becomes quite easy. This is a huge contributing factor to the nation's general happiness. If you're a traveler visiting the land of ice and fire, then you can tap into this close-knit culture by joining an Icelandic family for a homemade meal, which you can easily do through a number of tour companies. Number 1. Finland. For the 5th year in a row, Finland has been ranked first as the happiest country in the world, and for good reason. The nation consistently ranks amongst the world's best education systems, though it's often rivaled by countries like Japan, South Korea, and Singapore, who are titans of education. Much of the educational success of the land of the Finns has to do with a general reverence for teachers, who, by the way, are required to have obtained a master's degree in order to qualify to teach. Thankfully, that's not so much of an insurmountable task as it may sound. Finnish education degrees are state-funded. What's more, Finland's pedagogical system focuses more on equal opportunity and experiential learning than it does on quantitative testing. For expats visiting the country, locals have an interesting way of boosting their endorphins: winter swimming. It's an extremely popular sport in this part of the world, and locals claim that they get a massive rush of happiness as soon as they're back on dry land. It makes sense. That's when their circulation kicks back in. Thanks so much for watching, folks. Now that we're at the end of the video, it's time for a fun fact. Naturally, it's about happiness this time. Did you know that happiness can actually relieve pain? The Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology published a study in 2005 in which they found that those who experienced more positive emotions were less likely to experience discomfort from conditions like chronic pain and arthritis. Which of these happy countries would you want to live in? Let us know in the comments section down below. If you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. Until next time, ciao!